Meeting to order at 6:29, the January Park and Rec Board meeting, January 18th. So let's do a call to order and a roll call.
Scott Heron.
Here.
Margaret Meader.
Here.
Foster Neal.
Present.
Jim Brown.
Here.
Ann Hanson.
Present.
Vicki Dewar.
Yes.
John Sparks. Sandy could not attend tonight. And Ava will wait out for her.
Sounds good. As long as we have a quorum to move on. So we have some November 14th minutes that were emailed to us. I imagine most of us have had a chance to take a look at them, but entertain a motion to approve those if anybody would like to make that motion.
I motion that we approve the meeting minutes as written.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Did anybody see anything that they needed changed? They look very comprehensive to me. Okay, so hearing no revisions, all those in favor can say aye. Aye. Okay, any abstained or opposed? Okay. So those minutes shall pass, the November minutes, since we don't have December minutes. And so, I don't know if you guys picked up things when you came in as guests, but the general business has pool renovations in the RAP grant, Hemlock Park, and then the Depot Park and Skate Park. So if there was any public comments not related to the agenda, it's a great opportunity to do that. If either of you want to, John, or, you know. And we got our last member, good.
What's on the agenda, correct?
Is he on the agenda?
I'm sorry?
Is John on the agenda?
Yeah, it's Hemlock Park.
Okay. So,
Yeah, Hemlock Park.
so it'll be during the Hemlock Park. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, good, cool. We're at the beginning of the binder in January, so, okay. All right, since they're hearing no public comments, not related to the agenda, move into our general business. It looks like we're gonna start with pool renovations and the grant that was, or is going to be submitted, the RAP grant.
That was my fault.
There
All
you go.
right.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. So behind me and in front of you, you'll see a map showing some of the project ideas that we are planning on having in this grant application for RAP Grant 3.0. This came about after the pool season was done. We were looking at what can we do to make some improvements. We talked about the building. We talked about parking and other spaces. The grant is a $500,000 grant with a $500,000 match from the city. The MAR site needs to be done, so that's kind of what got us thinking, what else can we do to use that grant money? What we've come to settle on, it looks like here we've got a one-way route for the parking lot with a sidewalk that runs down the center of it, so there's an actual safe walkway for people once they've parked their vehicles to get to the sidewalk to walk to the pool. But it also makes sure that cars can't just pull straight through and down into the parking lot. They actually have to follow the one-way route. But it also allows for a good drop-off zone for that pool parking area as well. And some better handicap parking spots instead of what was up by the rail. We actually have some that will be to measure over where the old garage and storage building was. That will be taken out, and we're actually going to extend some fencing off of that east side of the fence out into a green space, so that can also be a part of the pool area. We're gonna have picnic tables in that space. We're gonna have a pool slide. There's a couple of options for that pool slide. We went for the larger one, but if we find that we need to, we can go smaller in size. It would still be a 2-slide pool slide, and it will be right off, or I should say across from the corner of Tower 3. So one side will feed into what is the middle section of the pool, and one side will feed into the shallower section of the pool. So both age groups will be able to utilize that, but it'll also be avoiding kiddie land, which is just packed full of little kids. Remarsiting the entire pool, because with this project taking place in '26, by then the shallow end will be due for a remarsiting, not just the deep end, so we may as well get it all done at the same time and have it all on the same timeline. We've got an arch for an entryway, and then other signage and flagpole adjustments and updates as well. So then you'll see the price breakdown that was given to us by Fleece and Vanderbrink, listing out prices of different items that we were looking to have as a part of this project. Some trees being planted, picnic tables, benches, as well as an entrance arch, pool marsiting, pool slide, and everything like that. We got the approval from the commission on Monday to pursue this grant, so that application is being finalized because it is due the 30th of this month. Questions?
It's a huge improvement.
Pretty well laid out.
Yeah, were you surprised by the costs that they broke down and estimated, or did that feel, with what you guys have seen with other projects, does this seem like it's in line for the different items and overall costs?
That's, I would say I'm not surprised because they're numbers that we have seen, but at the same time, I don't think we're gonna be finding trees that cost $1,000. So,
Yeah, there's a few things that surprised me, see how expensive some things were, but that's kind of, can be dealt with.
that is
Later on.
partially, there is, the word, doggone it. There's coverage there to make sure that we're accounting for contingencies, yes.
Okay.
Covering for, inflation, because this is actually a 2026 project, so the prices that we may have been quoted will go up as well. Pool slide and Marsite, that is accounted for in the quote. But we also make sure that we cover that with the other items to make sure that that's taken care of.
Cool.
So that's another reason why those prices may look a little higher too. One thing I would like to just make sure you guys are aware of, originally the plan was to look at doing the building as a part of this project, but once we actually got into it, that project itself is going to be at least $1 million project to do a full renovation of that building, which is exactly what it needs. And at that point, it put out of the reach of this grant helping to actually have an effect on it. So we would like to do that as a phase 2 of this overall project. This is what we were able to fit in for a phase 1.
So,
I was just gonna, you're saying that the equipment, the building that you walk into, building you
The
walk
main
into
building?
is we're gonna keep that the same,
For
is
now.
what you're doing, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, because that specific building itself is about $1 million project to
Right,
do a
okay,
full
that's
renovation.
fine.
Yep.
and you said that the plan is to tear down the existing, like, separate storage.
Garage storage building, yes,
Is that currently being used?
for storage. And minimally actually by us. A lot of the stuff that is being stored in there can be stored in a different location, so.
Okay. And so I didn't see anywhere where that was being replaced.
The replacement is just a matter of, that's where the parking is going to go. We're not creating a new storage space. There's
least in
space
this
within that we
phase.
can use that.
Yeah. That's what I assumed. I was just clarifying.
Yep.
Like, you don't really desperately need it, and that since the building, half of this is a separate project, that any storage that you did end up realizing that you needed could be addressed in that phase.
In phase 2, correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's still storage sheds, was it 2 sheds for chairs and things?
Those are still a part of
Still
it.
part
Those
of
will
it.
still stay there and those will still be utilized. They may get moved to a different location, but they will be utilized. But then storage space within the building will be utilized as well.
I mean, this addresses most of the concerns. I'm so glad you guys included the flagpole thing. That really, Mark Becker, appreciate that, that we're addressing that. And does this storm drain thing, I'm guessing that's something that just needs to be done too, when you have a parking lot right the creek and all that. I didn't, I
Storm
can't,
drain?
yeah, I didn't realize there was if there was a storm drain in that area already.
Yeah, I mean, part of regulations, whenever a parking lot is put in, you have to have adequate storm addressed, but it's adequate at this point. The parking lot size is not changing, it's
Yeah.
just we're going to that directional, going one way,
Yeah.
rather than
And this doesn't have any resurfacing of the parking lot, does it? Involved in it? I didn't look that carefully at that one.
is there a line item there that says HMA?
There would be,
Yeah, parking, HMA, and cold milling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parking
So-
lot striping and signs.
So it would be. Okay, well, there you go. Wow.
So but we're not expecting I just was blown away about the pool. I mean, the slide. That just kinda blew me away, but then you said that we factored in already the possibility of the raised prices on that, right?
Yes. Factored in the raised prices, installation and shipping. The pool slide itself is $82,000. And so then shipping is $7,000, and then installation, you tack on
Yeah.
another more. And at the worst case, again, that's option two, that's if we wanna go that large. Again, option one is a little bit smaller, but it's still 2 slides, and it's $57,000. So, if we need to, we can adjust and still get a pool slide.
Okay.
Speaking for the kids, I'm sure they would love
I'm
the
sure they
more,
would
the more expansive one, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's you don't see too many pools that have that kind of excitement, so. And then and this setup still allows you to keep the diving board,
Yes.
which is nice.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep, and it'll change some staffing needs. We'll have to have a person up at the top of the tower. It's a shared tower with the 2 slides, so we'd have to have a person at the top of the tower, as well as people in the water at the bottom of each slide, making sure that each kid gets out of that slide safely.
Can you, so, I'm under the impression that when we get to the building part of this phase, that the plan is still to try to find use of the building for a longer part of the year. I remember when I was much younger, sometimes trying to drive down into that parking lot in the winter and that parking lot not being plowed. So I'm curious if there's, like, if the various sidewalk and plant island in the parking lot is going to make plowing the parking lot harder in the winter, or if you've thought about that, or.
Heather, you wanna answer that one?
I mean, we'll manage, it's, the plow trucks themselves will have to make some adjustments, so we won't be taking the large dump trucks with the salts and what have you, we would be using the smaller plow trucks, and they'll probably push the snow up onto the raised elevated pedestrian crossing, assuming that most people aren't using them, and then as the snow melts, then we can push it off to the sides, I mean, it'll be a learning curve by all means.
Yeah, I know that, like, when it snows, you sometimes can't see, like, a raised sidewalk, and it just seemed like it could be a little bit more tricky with the sidewalk and whatnot, too.
Well, and come the winter, we may just have to flag that in some way, of shape or form, whether it's just putting signage on it so that the guys know when they're plowing. Hey, remember, this is here, so don't hit this spot.
And teenagers.
And teenagers, yep.
I mean, this serves many of the needs that we thought about. It'd be interesting to hear if our guests have any. Did you guys get to see enough? Did you guys have any questions or concerns as well?
I do have a question. The pavilion for, I can't see, sorry.
yeah.
That's there, but we're taking that down?
No.
Okay, is that something, I see that
No,
the
so
fire
what you
pit,
see down there actually is, I didn't say it, but it's listed out in here. It's a small fire pit, with a path down to it. But
so it's behind that fire pit?
the pavilion is behind that fire pit.
Got
The
it.
fire pit
Thank
is
you.
the circle with the,
That's fine, that's fine.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's a nice feature.
Yep, thank you.
it is not I'm gonna tell you, it's not a fancy fire pit. It's just, it's a fire pit though, because it is also still in a flood zone, so.
Yeah, and hopefully just a wood fire.
Well, I'm gonna,
believe, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you that it will be used, year-round,
Yep.
so.
I actually really like that the price tag is in the $1 million range, because I am under the impression that that's about how much it would cost to put a roof over the pool. And if we can find the money to make all of these, in some cases, like the Mars site is necessary maintenance, but some of the other things I think are just upgrades. So I think that if we can make the case for that amount of money for at least half of it being essentially upgrades, that like it puts a roof over the pool within a reasonable reach in the future.
Can I ask something that has nothing to do with the park board? Because I'm gonna do this, this pavilion, is this typing in, all the slats from our house and from, Dolores's house all the way down to the pool too?
No, that's a separate grant.
Okay, thank you,
Right,
thank you.
okay. Sorry, we're talking about the sidewalk.
That's fine, I just wanted to make sure, I'm not, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that, and that would have been, that's an addition, but that's part of you have sidewalk projects, and that can be covered. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That, it's because I don't see some of it there, and I didn't know,
Yes.
but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great to have that sidewalk actually going down.
But it is not that project.
Right.
This is only to that area, right? Right, is that what I'm saying? Okay, thank you, thank you.
Anything else?
so, John, anything, or Rosemary? Okay, okay. Yeah, should we go on to the Hemlock?
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I'll give you a brief update real quick. So the Hemlock Park project is nearing completion. We anticipate, given that the playground and restoration and everything has taken well over the course of the fall, we're going to be working with Mr. Cole's direction to have a ribbon cutting, and he's working with the donors. He's here tonight to talk a little bit further about another initiative he'd like to take on. And with that being said, do you have any questions about Hemlock Park project in itself? As you've seen it, like I said, it's basically completed at this point. We'll be removing the fencing come the spring. And
It's very nice lit up, walking through it
Yeah.
early in the morning and stuff like that. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
yeah, we're just finishing up all the final little signage and things of that nature so that when Mr. Coles has his ribbon cutting with the donors, everything will be finalized. So without that being said, John?
I do have one question.
But
I can't recall seeing that the playground was officially open. Is it officially open?
no.
No.
That's
Last
why
time
we
I
have
was-
it fenced off. People have been using it.
It's
Or
my other
nobody's
question. Has there
policing
been-
it
There
per
hasn't been any
se.
problems with people using it, even though it's
No,
not
I
officially
mean,
open?
all the punch list items have been corrected, and so with that being said, it's not a safety hazard.
Yeah.
It's just, we kept it fenced off so that the grass could get established, because, I don't know if you noticed or not, but at the basketball court, it's located on the middle school's property. We did restoration and took the fencing off sooner than we should have, and with the children doing what they do, playing at a playground, running up down the hill, it eroded quickly, and we were seeing that there was massive ruts that were going into the hillside. So we worked with the school system, reestablished the seating and fenced it off for the duration of the fall, and then we'll see how it looks in the spring, maybe keep it fenced off depending on if it took, and then it'll definitely be all removed by the summertime.
Thanks.
John?
Like me?
Yes.
You did?
No, come on up.
Okay. All right, well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is John Coles. I proposed the Hemlock Park Improvement Project back in 2019. And so it's taken us a while to get here. COVID didn't help. So I appreciate your support, both morally, the rubber stamps that you give, as well as your financial commitment to this project since then. As Heather said, we're almost to completion. Aside from the ribbon cutting of the splash pad, we have an entry sign to work on, and then what I'm hoping is one more request that you will approve tonight. As you know, the Hemlock Park Improvement Project initially had 5 projects to it: the tennis courts, Larissa Draves and Patrick McKnight tennis courts, Docks Docked, Dr. Conrad's kayak launch, the Pete and Lucy Kent pickleball courts, the Forrest Van Patten Memorial basketball courts, and the Matthew James Hansen splash pad. That's 5 projects. A year and a half ago, the city came upon a $1 million grant that we were eligible for due to our improvements in the park, and thus we were able to use that grant money, as you know, to take down the wooden playscape that was built 25 years ago and erect a brand new ADA accessible, beautiful playground. 25 years ago, that playscape was brought about by, as you know, many of you were probably a part of that, community members, 100% community driven, built, funded, and it was led by the late Leslie Daniels and Patrick Klarecki were the 2 leaders of that community-minded project. What I'm asking for tonight is to stay consistent with naming rights of the individual projects within the Hemlock Park Improvement Project, and allow me to go and raise anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 to name that new playground in memory, in honor of the Daniels family. For those of you who aren't not aware of who the Daniels family is, again, the late Leslie Daniels spearheaded the project with Patrick Klarecki, and then her husband's team, which is the Fair State varsity hockey team, laid wood chips and helped maintain that wooden play structure for the 10 years after it was built, and then football and basketball Bulldogs maintained that, again, that ground covering until we took that play structure down. Couple things, it's consistent that we name this individual project with the whole Hemlock Park Improvement Project. It is a great honor to the Daniels family to name this after what they've contributed to our town and what I would consider our university in Fair State. Coach Daniels will probably announce his retirement after, Vicki, how many years?
I don't know.
27, 28 years?
No, it's
30
Yeah, it's
something.
30
something?
30 years.
30-something years. He will announce his retirement this year, more than likely. And I've been in touch with the athletic department, obviously the university. I've been in touch with him, and you know, we've already raised $3,000 without your stamp. I'm sorry. And we've got another $2,000 committed. Our goal, myself along with hockey alums, most notably Nick Scheibele in town, who's connected with all of the hockey alums, as Vicki knows. We think we can raise $20,000 for a small plaque and continued maintenance on that new playground. And so, all I'm asking for tonight is the ability to go and continue to fundraise and for you to allow us to name that new playground as the Daniels Family Playground. Questions? Initial objections?
We previously, in the recent months, have begun to address our parks naming policy. I'm just reviewing what I had responded to that in previous minutes. I think that given that this is essentially in line with what you've already accomplished and the precedent that has already been set, that it makes sense. But I would hope that as a board, we could address the naming issue so that going forward, like this is the last time that we don't have a solid policy in place for someone to make such a request going forward.
That'll be something that we'll be working on from the spring. And it's gonna take some time, but yeah, I think that that's the end goal, is that we would have a more detailed policy in place. Moving forward with Mr. Cole's request, I would recommend that you as a board have discussion. And if you're comfortable with him moving forward to save his time, if he achieves his goal, I would say that it would be conscientious of his time to make that recommendation to allow him to proceed, so that if he is successful, then the next step would be to go to the city commission and have them give stamp of approval to move forward with the naming of the particular playground. So that way he doesn't have to come back here and tell you if he was able to achieve what he was saying.
Yeah, and my hope would be that the board would support our goal and attempt of raising $20,000. If I fall short and make 18, I hope that you understand that we'd be giving back $18,000 and we couldn't. So I'd be curious how that's written.
We don't really have a great policy right now. I mean, it's just not that extensive. And like I said, I mean, there's already the precedent where you've already raised all this money and all these other projects have been named. Why wouldn't we allow the same person who's already done all this that we've already established to continue? I hope that we don't see more I don't foresee more instances of this happening before we have a better, more substantial naming policy in place.
It just feels though that seems consistent with the naming of the other projects, so to me it just feels natural. And I would make a motion to support that, you furthering that venture.
I would second that. I
You-
think that would be good.
You may have already said it, and I just wasn't paying close enough attention. You say that you want to raise money for the naming. The money raised would go toward,
A small plaque, and then it would be used. You would have it for maintenance of the facility.
Because we don't have we don't have like a Hemlock Park improvement fund currently, do we? That like it gets,
Well, I
Money
mean,
raised for it?
parks are budgeted through the general fund,
Yeah.
so maintenance is part of our parks,
Right.
budget. What he is hoping to do is have a pool of funds that would be set aside, potentially in a trust or an endowment or something along those lines, so that later down the road, if there's a need of replacement, 25 years, because that's typically the lifespan of a facility. The previous group, they had a pot of money, and they did the same thing. They put it in a trust, and then they wrote it off to the city, and that money was put towards the playground that you see that's installed now. I believe that's your intent.
That is our intent. The Hemlock Park Improvement Project came to light because 2017-18, we asked the city to resurface the Hemlock Court tennis courts. And we're told there's no funds for that. It's not budgeted in. Here we are, however many years later, with new courts and 6 new projects, so, yeah. While we're talking about it, I don't know if you all are they aware of the signs? And so each sign at each project has a removable paper sort of, all those donors can be updated throughout the years. If we were to add a backboard or windscreens at the tennis courts, we could update that donor list. So I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but it's a great sign. It looks like it's permanent, but it's a piece of paper between,
It did look permanent.
yeah. So our hope is that we can use that permanent sign, but update it throughout the years for improvements, windscreens, whatever, or just when they need a new coat of paint. Again, we can use that sign for many years to come.
simple question for you, John. what kind of conversation and what kind of response have you had from Pat Klarecki? I'm guessing that you've had conversations with him, considering he was one of the,
He is.
founders. Is he supportive of it being
Yes.
named as that?
Yeah, and he was supportive. I reached out to him when we were applying for the grant and taking down of the wooden playscape. And actually, if you were to go back to our Facebook feed, you'd see a quote from him supporting the new structure. So yeah, he's all on. He's on board. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a motion, it wasn't very clear what the motion was, but motion to support
To
their.
support you furthering that
Yeah.
venture.
And I would say there, it doesn't have to have a dollar amount to the motion or anything, cause that then flexes the ability for that decision to be made between John and the city with the amount. 'Cause do we have a threshold in our old
No, we
naming
don't.
policy? No, okay, that makes that simpler.
Yep.
And,
You're trusting that the 2 million that we've raised, we can raise another 20.
yeah.
We did really good with the 2 million, so.
The state and you all really helped with that, with the grants, and our former grant writer was unbelievable.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that leaves us great. So is there more discussion before I take a vote? Since we got a motion on the floor to support that? I guess, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody abstain? Anybody opposed? Okay, so.
All right, thanks
thank
for your
you, John.
support.
Thank you.
I hope to see y'all at the ribbon cutting. This spring, we're working on dates with not only the donors, but Matthew James Hansen's family as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. So we have two other items that's under one bullet point, but I'll tackle the first one, which is the update on the Depot Park. Progress is being made, and if you have the opportunity to drive by there, you'll see that the front part of the parking lot near the soon-to-be bike business has been paved with its base layer. The company has been out there actively getting the foundation set, been in contact with consumers to get power source dropped there. They had materials dropped off at the site, and they anticipate on starting constructing the building itself, the pavilion, here hopefully next week, depending on weather, obviously. And then they're just kind of moving forward as weather allows them to. So if you have any questions about that particular project, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have you had any issue with snowmobilers?
No, because we've been fortunate so far. There hasn't been enough snow for that to
Snow.
happen. So to date, the answer is no.
Good.
Yeah.
I know that snowmobilers like to and take advantage of the White Pine Trail, a lot, and that they don't always stay on it. And
Right.
So any place that's cleared at all that they can go off the trail, they're prone to do so. I'd hate to see, materials get damaged or people get injured because they don't realize there's something under the snow.
Well, there's snow fence around the whole entire project area.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And there's not a whole lot of room for a snowmobiler to go with the way it's fenced off and everything right now. At least when I walked by it the other day.
It's been impressive to see a couple projects going on during the winter season with the
Yeah.
with the restroom getting built, up at North End Park during this time and that project. That's pretty.
Yep.
That's great.
Skate park, you'll see in your packet that there are a list of rules. I had the opportunity to meet with Steve. He was the gentleman that worked with Jesse when they did the initial kickoff of fundraising to spark this skate park initiative.
a few years ago, and he did the promo videos and just was able to get people really excited, along with Jesse, to see this initiative take place. So we're nearing the end of this particular project in preparation of the apparatuses to show up this spring and get installed. I'd like to be proactive and get signage made. In particular, the skate park rules. Spoke with him. He's really in tune to what are appropriate rules that would be applicable to a skate park itself. I worked with him on some skate park etiquette bullet points that will be a separate sign just to educate people that are not familiar with what to do if you go to a skate park. And Steve Gove and myself have been working on some sort of group or person that is really in tune to skateboarding, so that when we have the ribbon cutting, there will be an opportunity for those that are learning the flow of the skate park, and they can see where they're supposed to go, and they'll have an opportunity to ask the experts as to where's the beginners, where's the intermediate, where's the advanced locations, so that they can kind of just get in tune to what that etiquette is. But skate park rules, any rules that are posted within the parks, they need to go before the park board with a recommendation to the commission so that they can be put into a city ordinance. And so these are the rules that we came up with that seemed appropriate to be posted at the particular amenity. Use of alcohol or illegal drugs are prohibited. That is already an ordinance, but we thought it was important to post that. No smoking, again, an ordinance, but again, we thought it was important to post that. Helmet is recommended. We were not going to put required because we don't want anybody policing another person that's skateboarding, so we're leaving it as recommended. Do not leave trash, food, drinks, or personal belongings in the riding area. And then no rude behavior. Spectators observe from the outside of riding area, and then keep pets out of the skate park. So they're pretty simplistic, but it's just calling out what maybe somebody that's a novice to all of this, and they're taking their child, and maybe they got their little dog and they're standing in the middle of where the flow area is, and that's impacting the advanced skateboarders. So these are short and sweet and to the point, and we thought that they were appropriate for just posting next to the skate park. And like I said, there will be another sign for etiquette, and that'll probably evolve depending on what the culture of the skate park it is as years progress.
So that little bulldog that rides the skateboard is just gonna have to skate outside.
Well, he's not supposed to be standing in the middle of the thing, so I mean, I'm sure the spectators
If
would
he's riding
appreciate
in
that.
motion along with the other
Yeah.
skateboarders. Yeah.
I don't think a skateboarding dog is a pet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
A participant, I like that, yeah.
You two phenom.
I don't think that a comma is needed after alcohol. It's definitely not needed after leave, as much as I don't
Yeah.
want people to leave
I know, I was like,
if they're having a good time.
Good to go. Yep, we got that.
Otherwise, I would move to approve this and recommend that the commission adopt it.
I'll second that.
Since this has some specific areas defined, does that mean that it'll be clear to people that are using it what is and what isn't the riding area? So like where they can leave a bag or a drink? Well, did that kind of, I mean, it's not really up for us, but do you feel like the design of it as it's laid out, it'll be clear enough that people will know where they can leave some of those kinds of things?
So, reflective to the etiquette sign, I will be working with Steve Gove, and we're gonna create a QR code that will highlight the skate park image itself, and it will show where the beginners area is, the intermediate, and the advanced, as well as what the flow is of the skate park. So anyone that hasn't had the opportunity to see an action and they are new to the skate park and they arrive to it because they want to be there when nobody else is around or whatever the case may be, they'll have the opportunity to scan that QR code and they'll be able to have all the information, the rules, the etiquette on their device as well as all that information. One thing that will be added as an after fact is some benches around the skate park so that when parents show up, they can have a place to relax rather than feeling as though they have to stand in the middle where they're impeding traffic. So we'll be working on that in the meantime. But yes, there will be those options for people to be able to view.
Yeah. That's a question I had.
She actually answered what I was gonna ask about benches or someplace, you know,
Yeah.
around the outside.
Yep.
So she already said it.
Cool. Sounds like something to vote on. Any other questions before a vote? No? All those in favor? As amended, I should say. Aye. Okay.
So is
Very good.
Foster and Mary?
Yes. That being said, that was really the only updates that we had for you folks this evening. Is there any questions that you have for Josh or I? Well, very good.
Something simple. Why are there keypads on the doors? The bathroom is not open over in North.
Can you put the microphone closer to you? I can hear you.
Oh, keypads. You got keypads on the doors?
Yep, this facility as well as the other municipal facilities have keypads where staff are the only ones that are allowed to enter.
Okay. I just noticed it when I was
No, yeah.
there last week. I said, oh, the building's up.
Yeah.
I'll wait for a couple weeks.
Yep. That's all I have for you.
Yeah, I think. Are you guys ready to adjourn? Okay. All right, let's adjourn at 7:11. Go get a Slurpee.
I can get a Slurpee.